In October last year, I first reported that staff inside South Africa House had raised concerns about the condition of the building. The iconic structure on Trafalgar Square, where Nelson Mandela once addressed crowds, had fallen into visible neglect. In internal messages I've seen, staff complained that the offices stank of urine from an unidentified source. Workers said they could not operate in those conditions, and there were reports that they were left to endure a broken heating system through the depths of a London winter. More than 6 months later, it has now emerged that the embassy's doors have been shut. The building appeared deserted, and High Commissioner Kingsley Mamabolo is reported to be working from the official residence in West Kensington. We asked the ambassador and the Department of Internal Relations and Cooperations, or DIRCO, for comment on the situation at South Africa House. Neither responded. When I went to see the building myself, after a South African who works nearby said that they had seen construction workers, I found a sign on the door confirming that the embassy had been closed for business until further notice. Cleaning had also begun on the exterior. I've since gathered that repairs to South Africa House are expected to cost £3 million. That is more than 66 million rand. And the work is expected to take 4 to 5 months. Ambassador Mamabolo, whose term officially ended in June, is rumoured to be staying on until September to oversee the renovations. I spoke to a vendor in the area who did not want to be identified. He told me that South Africa House had looked dirty and neglected for a long time, in contrast to the other embassies nearby, like the Canadian embassy.
This one they didn't clean. They come in 2 weeks' time, they say. This one is being cleaned. Inside they need to do, they are inside.
So you've seen boulders around there?
I see it, yeah.
Oh, okay, but they're not here today.
No, they're not here for 2 weeks, they say.
So what do you hear about the state of the boulders?
The building is beautiful, but they need maintenance. Can you see the building up there?
Yeah.
And can you see this building here?
Yeah.
Can you see the building all down there? Canadian House, National Gallery. Can you see it?
Yes.
And can you see this building? It's a shame the way they do it.
So what do you hear of what's going on inside?
No, I don't know inside. Say
The outside.
Yeah, outside. Inside, they told me everything you need to be fixed.
How long has the boulders been here? Have you got indication?
Months or something. Yeah. Months ago, I don't remember. Was it months ago? Yeah.
So thank you. And you've been here for a long time. You
20
know.
years. This door opened only when they vote.
Okay.
When they vote,
Yes.
the last vote, it was the biggest one. Because people go around, two rings. There was the biggest one. Every year, every, I don't know, 5 years they do votes.
Yes.
But this year, it was the biggest one.
Yes.
There's so many people.
South Africa is hastily spending money on renovations, and the underlying motive is that because South Africa House sits on a leasehold from the British Crown estate, which is understood to expire within the next 2 years, under UK heritage laws, failing to maintain a Grade 2 listed landmark is a breach of covenant, which can allow the Crown estate to block a lease renewal or even forfeit the property. I spoke to Ryan Smith, a Democratic Alliance spokesperson on international affairs, who had commented on the neglect at other South African embassies.
Now, this building that was reported a few weeks ago is suffering from major maintenance neglect. We've got broken windows, broken pot plants. Much of the basic infrastructure in the building is in a very, very sad state of affairs, to the point where Dutch residents have actually reported this building to the municipal authorities.
Ryan Smith was surprised to hear about the renovations and the fact that the South African government had kept it quiet. Do you, as the Foreign Affairs spokesperson for the DA, know about this?
I don't. I mean, look, I'm shocked, but not surprised. I must admit, I think this was a long time coming, given the state of the management of South Africa's foreign assets, namely immovable assets in buildings and property. So it comes as no surprise. But it really is, again, it's such an embarrassment really for our foreign service that we can't even maintain the buildings that our diplomatic staffers have to operate in, let alone the appointments themselves. And it actually corroborates the budget review and recommendations report that came from the Auditor General in the 2024-25 period, which actually stated that Derco's financial performance had regressed, particularly over its management of foreign assets. And to actually quote that report, it said that many of those properties have been rendered uninhabitable. That was the exact word that the AG used in that report. And I think this is just further proof of the fact that we've got these foreign assets that belong either to South Africa or have been rented by the South African government to house our foreign service for so long, that have just been left to rot, to fall apart. And aside from the staffers themselves not being able to use those buildings, what must people think when they walk through London and go through Trafalgar Square and see the Indian High Commission that's beautiful, the Canadian High Commission that's, very well looked after, and then turn to see the dump that is the South African High Commission to the United Kingdom? I mentioned this in a speech in Parliament the other day, that, our embassies actually resemble the very same crumbling municipalities under the ANC's watch. It's you can see just how badly the ANC governs, not just by living in an ANC-run municipality, but by looking at ANC-run embassies and high commissions in countries around the world. It's such an indictment, really, on our potential as a country.
Well, what I have heard is that the ambassador, the High Commissioner, Mr. Mamabola, his term was supposed to end in June, but that it has been extended, that's the rumors I've heard, until September. So, to oversee this reparations. I don't know if it's going to take only a few months to do it. From what I've seen, it looks like far more work than that. But also, why would they close such an important embassy and not tell South Africa about that?
I think because they know that they are guilty of not having maintained the building for so long. You don't have to close a building for months on end if you had kept regular maintenance and upkeep over the past 10 to 20 years. If you leave a building for so long to such an extent that it has to be completely shut down for maintenance and repair, it really is indicative of the extent to which there has been so much negligence when it comes to managing a building as a foreign asset. And again, it goes back to what the AG report said, that these buildings have been left and unmaintained for such a long period of time that it's almost gotten to the point of permanent disrepair. And unless you close them permanently, and there's no way of actually addressing the issue. And it's exactly the same process that's happened with the embassy in the Netherlands at the moment in The Hague, where I visited that embassy at the end of last year. And you can see that the neglect is so far gone that the only way to fix it is to move everybody out and start work there. But I was told by the leader of the DA Abroad in the Netherlands a few weeks ago. He said, it's been nearly a year actually since I visited that embassy in the Netherlands, and he says there's been no work on that building. You would have expected by now there would have been scaffolding up, there would have been a construction site, or people coming in and out of the building. He says nothing has changed. So I wonder to which extent, or to what extent rather, this maintenance is actually taking place, or have they just left the building to fall apart and relocated services elsewhere temporarily?
The other thing is the London ambassador, Mr. Mamabolo, if he's leaving, is there any indication of who would occupy this new very important post? It's a very important post for South Africa, and it is of historical value.
Yeah, we don't have any indication at the moment. The appointment of ambassadors and high commissioners is kept very close to the president's chest, so they don't even let other members of the GNU know about those appointments. So we wouldn't know who would be nominated until it breaks in the media. But one would hope that the president would put someone capable in that position. We need a capable high commissioner to the United Kingdom. It's one of our largest trading partners. And it's a very important country for South African expats who live and work outside of South Africa. So again, much like Paris, it's just as important. And if we get another Ayanda Zozo placed in London, it again is going to be another slap in the face to South Africans and our foreign service, and also to the governments of the United Kingdom. So we wait in anticipation to see who will replace Mr. Mamabolo. Hopefully not a retired ANC politician with a whole lot of corruption scandals behind his or her name. And I really, really hope that the president starts to look at the value of career diplomats and people who are actually in it to serve the country as a career, and not see it as, a nice place to spend the last few days of your working life, I suppose, before you retire. So yeah, we'll wait and see.
Earlier, in an interview with Lord Peter Hain, the veteran anti-apartheid activist, he expressed dismay that an iconic witness to South Africa's democratic achievement had been allowed to fall into decay. But Lord Hain did not place the blame on the High Commissioner, saying Ambassador Mamabolo had done his best to manage the situation. He said responsibility ultimately lies with the authorities in Pretoria. What do we make of this, the neglect of buildings with this stature? I mean, you probably watched Mandela giving speeches in front of South Africa House.
Well, I've had a variety of experiences with South Africa House. I was once, for a long time, banned under apartheid from going anywhere near it, and was demonstrating regularly outside it. And then, of course, with the change after 1994, I found myself an honored guest. And there's even a photograph of me as a young protester displayed in one of the corridors. But the fact is, ever since the Jacob Zuma presidency, which denuded the country and looted it so shamelessly, public finances have been in a terrible state. And the mission in South Africa House on Trafalgar Square is probably the most prominent embassy building anywhere in the UK. It's right there at the heart of London. Everybody sees it, and it's an incredible building. But the mission has been cut savagely from the time when there were high commissioners like Mendy Msimang, Cheryl Carolus, Lindiwe Mabuza, and others. Now under Jeremiah Marabulo, who's I think a very able high commissioner and a professional diplomat, his staff have been absolutely cut to ribbons. So the compliment that there was 30, 40 years ago is now reduced to almost literally a handful. And the building itself has become very dilapidated. It used to host book launches, parties, receptions, dinners, as well as having a highly skilled set of diplomats who interacted with the British government and with other foreign governments through their own embassies. London was a very important centre for South Africa in a diplomatic sense, as was Washington. And both centres have been badly denuded, but the South African situation is pretty disturbing and, frankly, pretty shaming.
And the reason apparently why they are doing it now, the Crown Estate leasehold expires, I think, within 2 years. There's no chance that the UK government will take, that's not the UK government, the Crown Estate would take that property back, would it?
Well, I hope not. But South Africa has always had a lease on it, both during apartheid and post-apartheid. So that lease is, as you say, from the Crown Estate, which is ultimately a royally headed estate. And there's obviously a question about it. I hope that it will remain the South African High Commission, but who knows? It's a proud building. It's an incredible position for a relatively, small country, and one that's with a long history of links to Britain. But nevertheless, in the international scale of things, not a big player, to have such a prominent building is an incredible asset. And the question is it regarded as such sufficiently by the government, by the country, by its citizens, but do the public finances allow it to be financed and staffed in the way that it once was? That's a question for South Africa, not so much for me.
So while it's welcome that repairs are finally underway at South Africa House, questions remain over why the work took so long to begin, why was it kept quiet, and whether the budget and timeline can realistically be met. With the big Nelson Mandela celebration concert planned for 18 July on Trafalgar Square, marking his legacy and 30 years of South Africa's constitution, was this the event that finally prompted action? The High Commission has invited a number of dignitaries for an official celebration in a hospitality marquee. This is Linda van Tilburg for The Bigger Picture.